So homelessness is on the rise across the country. We had a significant increase last year, and without significant additions to affordable housing, we don't expect to see any drastic reductions.
Tonight, we're continuing to dig into homelessness as Oklahoma City officials and volunteers wrap up their latest point-in-time count.
This count is used to determine the number of people experiencing homelessness across the city. Fox 25's Jamison Kiefover spoke with community members ahead of this survey.
City officials and community partners conduct the point-in-time count in January. They say because people are trying to stay out of the cold, they're in shelters and easier to find. That gives them a better and more accurate number to know where people in Oklahoma City need these resources. 120 volunteers divided across Oklahoma City to survey individuals in shelters and encampments, asking why they became homeless or how long they've been without a place to stay. During last year's point-in-time count, more than 1,800 people were without a home in Oklahoma City. That's 402 more people than the year before. And that's the same trend seen across the U.S., with homelessness going up 18% in 2024, according to federal officials. City officials say an increase in Oklahoma City is expected this year as well.
We're looking forward to seeing the data and hoping that we can just slow the increase of the numbers this year.
The Key to Home Partnership is leading the point-in-time count. The effort includes the City of Oklahoma City and 50-plus community partners. Megan Mueller with the Homeless Alliance addresses how, as the legislative session begins soon, elected officials can play a role in ending homelessness or making the problem worse.
We do tend to see new bills emerge this time of year. Some of those can really move the needle in a positive way for our system, and some of them certainly can have negative implications as well.
Senate Bill 484, introduced this session by Senator Lisa Sandridge, would stop cities with populations under 300,000 from providing homeless support services. This bill wouldn't impact Oklahoma City, but could affect resources in surrounding cities, making the issues here worse. According to KOKH, the count found last year around 85% of unhoused individuals in Oklahoma City are originally from Oklahoma, and the reasons for living on the street: failed relationships, medical debt, or something KOKH says is a major issue: the lack of affordable housing. City officials say point-in-time count results will become available likely in May or June, and this will help prioritize efforts for the year to come. Reporting in Oklahoma City, I'm Jamison Kiefover.
State lawmakers proposing several bills aiming to address housing and eviction issues. One focuses on landlord-tenant retaliation protections. Under House Bill 2015, a landlord renting more than 10 units in the state cannot retaliate against a tenant by increasing rent or decreasing services. It also outlines that a landlord cannot terminate a rental agreement if they know their tenant filed a building code violation or a health and safety complaint to a government agency, or if their tenant has testified in a court proceeding against them. Now, the bill also details what actions by a landlord would not be considered retaliatory if a tenant's not paying their rent in accordance to their rental agreement, or if a tenant uses the property for illegal purposes or becomes a nuisance. The landlord can hold the tenant accountable, and if passed, the bill would take effect November 1st.
Another bill looks to change the timing and scheduling requirements for eviction proceedings. Senate Bill 128 would amend the current state statute, extending the minimum time that a person has to appear in court for those hearings from 10 days to 10 business days after the summons is issued. It would also require the summons to be delivered at least 7 days before the scheduled hearing instead of 3. A proposed amendment to the state's Legal Services Revolving Fund could help those facing eviction. The fund is currently designed to help cover the costs of family law legal services for low-income Oklahomans involved in civil legal cases. The priority is currently given to cases involving domestic and family violence and abuse. But this amendment would expand that to include tenants facing eviction. If signed into law, the change would take effect November 1st. A one-way bus ticket out of Oklahoma. That's one lawmaker's proposal to help local governments address homelessness in their communities.
Fox 25's Tom Ferguson looking into this approach joins us live from the Capitol. Tom, would cities and towns be forced to adopt this program?
Adam and Wendy, the bill says they would just be permitted to use funds from their general revenue budgets to buy these tickets. But advocates say this comes on the heels of other legislation they call anti-homeless. As communities across Oklahoma and the United States grapple with how to best address homelessness. House Bill 1798 from Shawnee Republican Del Curbs is getting strong opposition.
Bills like this are just frustrating and disheartening and go against everything I know Oklahoma to stand for.
April Dozier is with Food and Shelter Inc. in Norman. She said her organization has provided bus tickets to those in need of relocating to get closer to housing and support systems before. But she argued this bill is part of a larger effort to slam the door on the homeless.
These are our neighbors. These are children of our neighbors. These are our friends.
Dozier just wrapped up a homelessness point-in-time count in Cleveland County before interviewing with Fox 25. She said the vast majority of the county's homeless population comes from the Norman area or surrounding region.
In my 15 years at Food and Shelter, I've never known an influx of people coming in to be homeless. It's not better to be homeless in Oklahoma than it is anywhere else.
We're told it's a similar story in Oklahoma City. In a statement, Homeless Alliance CEO Megan Mueller said her organization typically finds about 85% of OKC's homeless population comes from Oklahoma. She said instead of removing them, quote, "We must be investing in solutions that end and prevent homelessness in our communities, beginning with increased investment in affordable housing." And we made multiple attempts to contact Curbs and get his insight for the story as well, but are still waiting to hear back. Lawmakers return to the state capitol here on February 3rd. Reporting live, Tom Ferguson, Fox 25 News.
Advocates also raising concerns about another piece of proposed legislation aiming to put more restrictions in place when it comes to where homeless encampments can be located. Under House Bill 2150, people will not be allowed to set up a camp on a street, sidewalk, or public property that's within 500 feet of a public or private school. Any person who violates or refuses to leave will be charged with a misdemeanor and face a fine of $50. Now, earlier this month, we told you Oklahoma City officials placed boulders under a bridge that was once home to a busy homeless encampment.
Through open records requests, we learned the city spent more than $50,000 to renovate that area to deter people from setting up camp. As Fox 25's Grant Palmer reports, the city says the spending was in the interest of public safety.
After we housed 27 people at that encampment, there was a strategy conversation about how we can ensure people's safety in that area and keep people from camping along that busy roadway.
A homeless encampment that used to be underneath the Oklahoma City Boulevard Bridge on Classen is no more, as the city placed boulders under the bridge last week to deter future encampments. It's sometimes described as hostile architecture, where spikes or bars are added to surfaces to make them uncomfortable to lay or sleep on. KOKH says the city placed those boulders under the bridge because the area is a safety concern.
It is very close to a busy roadway that has a curve. There wasn't great lighting. We also added some lighting to that area underneath the bridge, and so it's just very close to the roadway.
Through an open records request with the city, Fox 25 learned the city paid $22,000 for the boulders, plus more than $12,000 to permanently place them there. The total project cost to renovate the area under the bridge, a little over $52,000.
We always want to look at things through a lens of people that are experiencing homelessness, and it's really important that we're able to offer housing. That's the key here. So we believe that people deserve better than to be sleeping under a bridge.
But despite this recent installation, the city says they don't have any other plans of laying down rocks at any other locations.
Each area of the city is kind of its own unique considerations, and there are sometimes different things that we need to consider and different interventions that may need to be considered, but no, this is not necessarily a standard practice.
Reporting for Fox 25 News, I'm Grant Palmer.
And that was your big story breakdown. You can learn more about the one-way bus ticket bill on OKCFox.com.
Plus, you can watch all of our previous big story breakdowns and coverage on our YouTube page. Just scan the QR code on your screen.